The day Wang San parted with his little sweetheart, the sun was shining brightly. No one could have imagined it would be their last meeting. Wang San was an ordinary man with an ordinary job and family life. However, he had a handsome face and a pair of bright, shining eyes. In a small city in northeast China, where he always dressed in brand-name clothes, his good looks made him appear at least 5 years younger than his peers. He didn't need to work. At a young age, he spent his days tending to fish, tidying the house, picking up the kids, and in the afternoons, heading to the union to play mahjong with some elderly men. People would always comment over tea, "Wang San is truly lucky." His wife was capable and beautiful, his daughter was smart and well-behaved. But then they'd sigh, if only that accident hadn't happened, things would be so much better. Yes, Wang San's story seemed simple, yet it was also filled with sadness. Wang San's father was a veteran who fought in the Korean War but developed chronic illnesses. He passed away in his early 50s. Wang San, the third child in his family, got his name from being the third son. In northeast China, people often say, the youngest son is the treasure of the family. But at the age of 16, Wang San lost his father. He quit school early and took his father's job. Back then, it wasn't unusual for someone to start working right after finishing middle school. In an era of collective work and a focus on the community, Wang San's job wasn't bad. Soon after, he reached the age where people started talking about marriage. His friends introduced him to a girl, and she was beautiful and graceful. Especially in those days, her status as a university student made Wang San feel like he'd found a treasure. The girl came from a wealthy family, but her good-for-nothing brother had driven their mother to an early grave. When Wang San met her, she was always attending meetings and traveling. Her father was bedridden in the hospital, and Wang San tirelessly cared for the old man. Although he could no longer speak, the old man was mentally alert. Before he passed away, he entrusted his beloved daughter to Wang San, the simple yet sincere young man. Wang San married the girl, and a year later, they had a plump baby daughter. From the moment she was born, Wang San's life changed forever. Wang San, who had lost his father young and had no financial security, found that his wife's family fortune had also been ruined by her brother's failures. But they both tightened their belts to care for their little girl. She was born just before the new year, and the couple emptied their savings to buy a radio, playing music to keep the baby calm amid the loud firecrackers. Not long after the couple was basking in the joy of their newborn, disaster struck. Wang San's love for cleanliness led to his right hand being caught in a crane, and it couldn't be saved. He lost his right arm at the age of 25, becoming 40% disabled. His daughter was just 10 months old at the time. Everyone thought his young and beautiful wife might leave him, but no matter how much Wang San broke things, lost his temper, or demanded a divorce, his proud, decisive, and strong-willed wife refused to leave. After Wang San's accident, the household revolved entirely around him. He was always the best dressed, with a wardrobe full of brand names. He could buy whatever he liked, and his love for cleanliness never faded. His white shirt spotless, shoes polished to a shine, white socks, and vests always fresh. Although Wang San lacked much education, he desperately wanted his daughter to succeed in school. From the time she could remember, he took her to all sorts of extracurricular activities. Today it was drawing, tomorrow calligraphy, the day after theater, and then music. Wang San and his wife spared no expense, buying ink, paper, brushes, an electronic keyboard, anything to support their daughter. Whatever she wanted to do, Wang San made sure it happened. His love for her surpassed that for his wife, or even his mother. As she grew, the girl became more articulate and close to her mother. At the age of 9, her quick wit earned her a spot as a child host on the local radio station, starting a 4-year journey for Wang San. Every Wednesday, he would drop his daughter off at the station, holding a small radio as he waited outside, listening to her young voice on the airwaves for 4 hours. No matter the weather, be it sweltering heat or the bitter cold of northeast winters, where temperatures plunged below -30, Wang San stood in his thick coat, cradling that little radio. No matter how much his daughter begged, he never stepped inside the station's doors. It was only years later that she understood the depth of his love. Wang San, knowing his own limited education and disability, feared that his presence might embarrass his daughter. As time passed, Wang San's little sweetheart blossomed into a beautiful young woman. Boys began waiting outside to walk her to school, and Wang San's face would turn pale with anger, his teeth grinding in frustration. He probably never thought that in the blink of an eye, his little girl would grow up. Back then, there were no cutesy nicknames like princess or baby. He always called her daughter. Just like many fathers, quiet and stoic, showing their love through silent sacrifice. One time, after twisting his ankle and unable to fit his foot into a shoe, he wore slippers to pick up his daughter from school. It was snowing heavily that day, and he dragged his swollen foot, which was puffed up like a steamed bun, to the school gate to wait for his daughter, who had already turned 16, to finish school. He truly spoiled her to the core. If she said she wanted tomatoes with sugar, he'd slice them with his left hand for her. If she craved braised pork with string beans, he'd buy the ingredients and go ask neighbors how to make it. But as kids grow older, they start to form their own thoughts, and they began to drift apart. From a young age, his little girl had a rare talent and desire for performing, something not often seen in girls. She started participating in all sorts of speech competitions at the age of 6. He had never watched her perform in person, only ever watching like a loyal fan in front of the TV, catching every rebroadcast. The only time he saw her live was when she was in high school. She was both the host and a contestant, delivering a speech on the theme of mother's love, which moved many in the audience to tears and made her an instant sensation. As her father, he quietly basked in the flood of praise in a corner of the room. That day, he drank a little too much. During the speech, his daughter stood on stage and said, "From childhood to now, I've participated in many competitions. Most of my speeches have praised our country or told stories of a mother's love. I've never told my father I love him, though I know he has always deeply loved me, even if he's never said it. But I love him just as he loves me. Today, he's here in the audience, and I want to say, Dad, I love you." That heartfelt confession at the end deeply touched everyone in the audience, and his daughter, beaming with pride, received endless accolades. That evening, Wang San got drunk and, while holding his daughter's hand, rambled, "Daddy loves you so much. You're the one I love the most in this world, the most. His daughter was obviously stunned by this unexpected confession. Little did she know, it was both their first and last time saying those words. A little over a month later, one night, Wang San was robbed. He handed over all his money but refused to give up his phone. Even in his final moments, he was muttering incoherently, "I need to call my girl, or she'll be worried." That same night, he passed away. The killer kept muttering that he had no idea Wang San was disabled, that he couldn't support himself, and never expected that one punch would cause Wang San to fall, hitting the back of his head on the ground, and dying instantly from a brain hemorrhage. In his coffin, Wang San's face was still as delicate as ever. He was 43 years old when he passed, forever frozen at that age. He looked much younger than his peers, almost as if he were only in his early 30s. If he hadn't been so vain, always carrying that grooming hand, would the robber have not hit him? Would he still be alive? If his wife hadn't loved him so much, dressing him in expensive clothes, would he have never encountered that robbery? If he hadn't been so obsessed with cleanliness, would that accident 18 years ago have never happened? If the world were full of what-ifs, would everything have turned out differently? When Wang San passed, many neighbors came to send him off, talking about all the good things he'd done over the years. Yes, he was a simple and honest man, unafraid of hardship, kind to everyone around him. No one could believe such a good person could just be gone like that. If someone had been with him that day, he wouldn't have died. After Wang San passed, the little girl he couldn't stop worrying about in his final moments took time off from school and went abroad. She spent 8 years traveling almost all of Europe and completed a double master's degree. Every year on April 28th, she can't help but cry for an entire day. She wishes she could go back 10 years, to when she was 18, standing on that stage again, and telling Wang San how much she appreciated him. Even though he was just an ordinary man, his love was perfect. If the legend were true, then how lucky she had been in her past life to meet him and become his lover. In the next life, she hopes to be his older sister, to take care of him, to love him, to fulfill his wish of having an elder sister in this life. Yes, this Wang San was my father, my lover in my previous life, and the person I will always remember in this one.